Welcome to Whisper and Wonder, where soft stories meet soft voices. You're listening to Hello, How Long Has This Been Going On? Episode 5. Let's begin. Huo Ryan clicked on the screenshot. It was a post from Shaw Stella's official account. He froze. Then he saw the line, "You probably don't know him," and guilt prickled in his chest. Didn't know him? That post reeked of passive-aggressive tea. And it felt like it was about him. Huo Ryan didn't read entertainment news or watch TV dramas. He barely knew any celebrities who weren't mega famous. Even though Huo Group owned a well-known entertainment company, he'd never intended to manage that side of the business. So he had zero motivation to explore that unfamiliar world. So when, a month ago at a party, Shaw Stella, dressed like a peacock in a tailcoat, bumped into him holding a wine glass and splashed red wine on his chest. Huo Ryan had no idea he was dealing with a star. He thought Shaw was just a clumsy server, and responded with gentle courtesy. While he looked down, dabbing at the red stain on his shirt, he completely missed the sparkle that lit up Shaw Stella's eyes. And just like that, a weeks-long nightmare began. Shaw Stella actually did know who he was. In the murky circles where people tried to trade their bodies for access, the names and faces of high-level execs from major entertainment companies and their parent corporations circulated widely. Huo Ryan, good-looking, young, and famously unattached, was ranked at the very top. Becoming his person was considered a risk-free, high-return investment. Huo Ryan had no clue about any of that. But after Dr. Tao gently clued him in, he'd come to understand that Shaw Stella's intentions weren't genuine. Naturally, he had no tolerance left. He'd already pushed Shaw Stella from his mind, until now. Seeing a veiled jab like that stirred his temper. Without hesitation, he blocked Shaw on PP. Still, with his sharp, observant sister, the less he said, the better. He opted for vague replies. HR. Don't know him. But wow, that was some grade tea. HR. Cat smirking. GIF. Dad. Where do you even get that sticker? Dad. I've sent you so many good ones. And you never use a single one. HR. Yours are ugly. Not cute at all. HR. Mine are adorable. HR. Dancing teddy. GIF. The weekend finally arrived, and Huo Ryan gleefully waved goodbye to the soul-sucking workweek. He hated the endless networking his father Tao Jay arranged for him. But if he had to choose between office work and social events, well, never mind. He'd rather die. Every day at work meant the same bouquet of fresh flowers in the reception room. And facing his assistant Jong Nasan, whose face screamed in spoken crush. That's right, his male assistant also liked him. Unlike Shaw Stella, though, Jong Nasan hadn't crossed any lines. He simply did his job diligently, while wearing an expression that all but shouted, "I like you so much. Please just look at me once." Since Jong had never actually confessed, Huo Ryan couldn't reject him outright. Nor could he justify asking for a replacement assistant just because of a feeling. Besides, he didn't believe there was anything wrong with genuinely liking someone. Next week, he'd be traveling to Jinbei City for a business trip. At first, he didn't want to bring along the assistant who blushed every time he spoke. But Huo Jason had assigned him a task. And Jong was good at dealing with logistics, scheduling, hotel bookings, paperwork. Everything would go more smoothly with him there. So Huo Ryan resisted the urge to be petty and simply told Jong Nasan to make sure to wear a mask. Yang's face instantly turned scarlet, as if it had caught fire. "Thank you for your concern, Mr. Huo. I actually have a pollen allergy. You noticed? I'm really touched." Huo Ryan. He figured he might need a mask too, just to keep his expression from cracking. The mess with Shaw Stella was finally put to rest. The flower stocking drama temporarily avoided thanks to this trip. As for Jong Nasan, Huo Ryan still hadn't figured out how to talk to Dr. Tao about it. For now, it felt like there wasn't much to say. 2 quiet days stretched ahead. What would Dr. Tao do with his weekend? After bottling it up all day, even Huo Ryan's basketball buddy noticed how distracted he was. They paused mid-game. "Hey, are you okay? Something on your mind?" Huo Ryan blurted out. "What do you usually do on weekends?" His friend gave him the "what is wrong with you" look and thumped the ball. "Play basketball. Duh. Not asking you." Huo Ryan muttered. His friend took a startled step back and stared suspiciously at the air in front of Huo Ryan. After a long pause, Huo Ryan admitted defeat and apologized, saying he wasn't feeling it today. He left the court. For the first time, he genuinely felt how inconvenient it was that his ancient button phone couldn't access PP. With no mood to play, Huo Ryan decided to go home and read. It had been ages since he'd really sat down with a book. And maybe, just maybe, he'd check his computer, just to see if anyone had messaged him. After a shower, still dripping wet, he dashed into his study, his hair damp and clinging to his forehead. No new messages on PP. The last thing in his chat with Dr. Tao was a good night from the day before. He wondered if Dr. Tao was sleeping in this weekend, since there wasn't anything in particular to say. He hadn't sent a good morning either. It was already late afternoon. Dr. Tao had to be awake by now. What was he doing? The newly minted internet addict Huo Ryan sat in front of his computer, staring blankly at the screen. Absent-mindedly, he clicked on Dr. Tao's profile picture. I patted Tao. Huo Ryan. He froze on the spot, face stiffening with panic. But less than 30 seconds later, Dr. Tao replied. Tao patted me back. Two pale gray lines, two pats, appeared, stacked together like a quiet, wordless exchange. They weren't speaking, yet they were both looking at the same chat window at the same time. Something stirred in Huo Ryan's chest. He subconsciously lowered his head, as if someone had really just patted him gently on the head. HR. Just came back from playing basketball. Sweaty as hell. Penguin jump. HR. Are you out somewhere? Dr. Tao? Tao. Reading at home. Tao. But honestly, I can't really focus. Tao. Couch potato mode.jpg. Staring at the lazy little sticker of a fish flopped on a couch. Huo Ryan found it hard to associate this lounging slacker with the disciplined Dr. Tao. Still, it was adorable. He quietly saved the image. HR. Same here. Been feeling so restless lately. HR. Don't force yourself to read if you're not feeling it. Maybe go outside for a bit. I saw a forum thread yesterday. Didn't realize Jinbei has so many fun spots. HR. Want me to recommend you something? Tao. Look at you. Knowing how to recommend, now dog face collision. Recommend was a new term Huo Ryan had picked up from that forum post yesterday. Using it right away, only to be caught by Dr. Tao, made his ears burn. Tao. Thanks tilde but no need for now. I don't really go out much. Tao. I'm used to staying in and just flopping around. Haha. Though Dr. Tao ended with a cheerful haha, Huo Ryan somehow read a touch of loneliness in his words. Then again, he thought, maybe he was imagining things. Someone as warm and kind as Dr. Tao, how could he be lonely? He didn't dwell on it. They chatted for a bit longer until Dr. Tao mentioned he was off to make dinner. Huo Ryan went to the kitchen and made himself a bowl of noodles. Carrying it back to his study, he instinctively clicked on the game icon on his desktop, completely ignoring the rows of bookshelves behind him. Lately, his days had been crammed with boring business events and endless social obligations. After formally protesting to Huo Jason, things had eased up a bit. At least he could keep weekends to himself now. So now, having had his first taste of the corporate grind, Huo Ryan refused to do anything remotely productive on weekends. When he felt like going out, he'd play ball or grab food with friends. If he didn't feel like leaving the house, he'd just stay in and play games. There was this game everyone had been raving about lately. Even friends who never played were hooked. It was called Happy Animal Island, a simulation sandbox game that had been running steadily for years. It suddenly went viral thanks to a breakout post on the official account. In Happy Animal Island, players picked an animal avatar and built their own island. The game offered a high degree of freedom. Because some animal types were limited in movement, they couldn't complete certain tasks. So the game allowed for communal living. Players could co-manage an island if the owner approved their application. The viral post was by a squirrel with an adorably hoarding personality. Just like in real life. On his island, he built several warehouses, stocking up on food and all sorts of knickknacks. One day, the squirrel noticed some small items missing, but the game showed no visitor logs. When he reported it to customer service, they confirmed it wasn't a bug. He started watching closely and realized the items only disappeared after he logged off. Reluctantly, he sold a bunch of his food to buy an invisibility cloak crafted by a top-tier player. Then hid by the warehouse to catch the mysterious thief. And then he saw it, a tiny black ant, expertly hauling away 3 grains of rice and disappearing into a hidden hole in the wooden planks. The squirrel stared, dumbfounded, at the player name above the ant's head. Someone had actually chosen to be an ant. Then he remembered, long ago, he'd received a communal living application from a player. He'd been curious at the time, but the player never showed up, and no new houses were built. He figured the person had quit. He never imagined the tiny player had built a home underground. Curious, the squirrel messaged the ant through the friend list, asking what his house looked like. The ant apologized for stealing, then sent over screenshots of his tiny underground home. A luxurious golden bed made from wood shavings, a quilt sewn from dried flower petals, a dining table fashioned from a flat screw, a bathtub carved out of an eggshell, water pipes cobbled together from plastic straws. The squirrel nearly passed out from how cute it was. He posted about it on the official account, marveling at how full of surprises Animal Island was, that every player could create their own unique way of playing. The game exploded in popularity. Huo Sophie, now fully addicted, kept pestering Huo Ryan with bribes and threats to join, just so she could get the invite rewards. Huo Ryan, who rarely played games, resisted at first. Then, like everyone else, he gave in, and to his surprise, he ended up fascinated by the game industry itself. In the game, Huo Sophie played a koala. Huo Ryan figured siblings should at least resemble each other. Of course, he needed to be much stronger than his little sister. So, he chose a grizzly bear. Grizzlies moved slowly, but they were strong enough to smash through the wooden fences on Sophie's island with ease. After logging in, Huo Ryan sailed to her island and caused some harmless mischief, then left a few fruits as gifts before cheerfully heading home. The weather on his island was set to be perfect for the next few days, so he planned to renovate his house. Being a grizzly, he'd need plenty of time to finish. The game ran in real time. Huo Ryan played until 10 at night. Once the island went dark, he logged off and planned to continue the next day. By Sunday evening, fully immersed in his work, Huo Ryan finally completed the painstaking renovation. Admiring his sleek, industrial-style new home, he took a few screenshots and posted them. Update: HR. Me not being an architect is a loss to the industry. Bear sparkles. Pick. Replies came in quickly. Comment: Dad. Shameless. Comment: Echo ever. Mr. Huo. Impressive as always. Comment: Lu Ian. Ran. You're playing this too? What's your ID? Comment: Enough and happy replying to her dad. What kind of username is that? Comment: HR replying to enough and happy, dad. Look how arrogant she is. ... Interactions under PP updates were only visible to mutual friends, which Huo Ryan liked. That way, even if he added people he didn't know well, his privacy remained intact. His eyes ached from staring at the screen for 2 days straight. He glanced over the flood of comments, about to close the browser, when suddenly, his hand froze. Comment: Tao. Adding a skylight to the roof would make it look even better. Huo Ryan was about to reply to the comment, but after a moment's pause, he opened the chat window directly. HR. Dr. Tao. You play Animal Island too? HR. I didn't know the roof could be changed. Tao. I used to play a lot. Didn't expect it to blow up like this. Right after, Dr. Tao sent over a few pictures. Huo Ryan tapped to open them. They were also screenshots from Animal Island, his kind of rugged industrial style. Almost identical to his own painstakingly designed cabin. But Dr. Tao's had a wide skylight on the roof, filled with stars spilling across the night sky. Against the dark gray wood and rough textures, it added a gentle, rustic kind of romance. HR. That looks amazing. HR. You're incredible. Dr. Tao. Tao. I had a lot of free time back then, so I tried out different styles. If you want some inspiration, feel free to ask me. Tao. Little bear spinning. GIF. Still basking in the glory of his own architect moment. Huo Ryan looked at the screenshots Dr. Tao had sent and suddenly felt a little embarrassed. He started studying the layout carefully, hoping to pick up a few tricks. And then he saw it. Reflected in a mirror inside the cabin was a small, round, brown figure with glinting silver spines on its back. Dr. Tao was a hedgehog. Looking again at the messages Dr. Tao had sent, Huo Ryan slowly realized that hint of loneliness he'd sensed yesterday wasn't his imagination. He stared at the screen for a moment, then almost without thinking, sent a message that felt a little too forward. HR. Dr. Tao. Are you always alone? Dr. Tao didn't deny it. His reply came lightly, even playfully. Tao. Has my social anxiety been exposed this quickly? 0.0. A strange feeling welled up in Huo Ryan's chest. He couldn't stop himself from asking another question. HR. Is it because you feel like you don't have anything in common with the people around you? So it's hard to be friends? This time, it took a long while before Dr. Tao responded. Tao. No. Tao. It's just, I don't feel real. Ellipsis. When Tao Jay learned that Big Bro HR was coming to Jinbei City on a business trip, his first reaction was confusion. Even though they'd been chatting more frequently these days, and even though Tao had taken the rare step of revealing a secret he'd hidden for over a decade, their relationship still felt like a classic case of two internet strangers bonding in the digital void. In real life, they had no one to talk to. Online, they could bare their souls. To Tao Jay, Big Bro HR had always been just a paper person, someone who existed only behind a screen. Separate from his real life, their worlds would never overlap, and so he'd never felt the need to worry about the dynamics of identity or emotion between them. But now this paper person was about to step into his actual city. The idea felt surreal, even without the physical distance that the internet provided. The thought of meeting a gentle, kind, maybe even slightly gullible middle-aged straight man felt like the collision of two entirely different worlds. Tao simply couldn't picture himself sitting across from someone like that. Making small talk, he regretted, just a little, using the prefix, Jinbei City, when he changed his forum username. But it was too late now. Reading HR's message, Tao could sense the unspoken anticipation behind the polite wording. He took his time crafting a gentle refusal. Deep down, he didn't want to blur the line between online and offline with Big Bro Hour. After declining the invitation, Tao settled into yet another weekend alone. In the past, to avoid sinking too deep into boredom, he'd made a few small personal rules for his weekends. If it was sunny, he'd go for a walk in the park, get some fresh air, maybe even stretch his body behind the elderly Tai Chi group. If it rained or snowed, he'd head to the supermarket to buy fresh vegetables and meat, then make a hot pot at home, eating a steamy meal while listening to raindrops or watching snowfall. Those were the happiest moments. Walking and washing dishes took energy, and after a full day of it, he'd usually feel pleasantly tired, leaving Sunday free for lazing around and scrolling on his phone. That was how he crafted the perfect weekend. But this weekend, Jinbei City was blanketed in a rare, heavy fog. Everything outside the window was swallowed in white. The nearby buildings had vanished into a silvery haze. The city was quiet and dreamlike. By afternoon, Tao found himself restless. He had already played through every trending game, refreshed the forums more times than he could count. There were no new posts. In his past life, whenever he felt this kind of boredom, he'd reach out to close friends, ask for game invites, chat about everyday stuff or gossip. Even exchanging random stickers could eat up an entire afternoon. But now, staring at the one and only name on his friend list, my friend, he fell silent. Should he message Big Bro HR? Just yesterday he'd gently turned down the guy's invitation. Now reaching out felt awkward. Embarrassment washed over him. Instead, he pulled a book from the shelf, one that had been gathering dust. Maybe it was time to reconnect with his intellectual self. He used to have a rule, 2 books a week. Guaranteed input. Lately, that habit had slipped. After reading for over 2 hours, Tao Jay dozed off, only to wake up and realize something important: never read near a foggy window. The mist was hypnotic. He rubbed the red imprint on his cheek and glanced at the time, 4:50 p.m. He'd made it through the long day. Now it was time to think about dinner, which could easily occupy his mind until nightfall. Strangely, that made him happy. At that moment, His usually silent phone, muted like always, buzzed with a rare notification. Thinking it was just another app push he'd forgotten to disable, Tao picked up the phone from the sofa and saw a new alert from the app. "Hour, tapped you." He couldn't describe how he felt. It was odd, like taking a big spoonful of rich soup on a rainy day, when the scent of food warms your whole chest. It was the first time anyone had tapped him. He tapped back. "You tapped, HR." A message came right after. Apparently, Big Bro HR had spent the weekend playing basketball, something Tao never would have guessed. The sad, lonely middle-aged man he'd imagined suddenly seemed brighter, more active, even more surprising. HR had actually gone to check out the travel recommendations Tao had casually mentioned yesterday, and even learned how to use the slang term, recommendation post. Clearly, this was someone who approached life with sincerity and effort. Maybe being friends with someone like that would be nice. That thought flickered briefly in Tao's mind. "Tao, how's that green tea guy doing? Has he tried to bother you again?" HR: "No, I was going to ignore him. But then, let me think how to put it. Tao, did he throw shade at you in front of others?" Tao: "Throwing shade equals not saying it directly, but making sneaky jabs." HR: "Yes, Tao doctor, you're brilliant." HR: "So I blocked him. Never had to hear from him again." HR: "Dancing teddy bear. GIF." Tao was a little surprised. Tao: "Good job. That's exactly what you should do with people like that. Cut them off cleanly." Encouraged, HR sent another dancing bear GIF. His joy practically radiated through the screen. Tao was charmed. He couldn't help but smile. He thought back to that night when he'd broken routine, when the warm night breeze floated above a bowl of noodles, and he'd spent the whole evening chatting, helping someone figure out how to deal with a manipulative ex-friend. Everything about that night had felt soft and new. With that thought, Tao suddenly knew what he wanted for dinner. He was going to try making braised beef shank. "Tao, I'm off to buy groceries and start cooking." HR: "Okay, see you later." Tao Dr. Tilda, penguin waving. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Hello. How long has this been going on? If this story made you smile, feel, or pause, consider subscribing to Whisper and Wonder. New episodes every week. Until next time, stay soft and keep wondering.